Mic'd up.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have a song today. We don't have Miller and his musical stylings. So we have a great show ahead. My name is Adam. I'm with Frank and I'm with Dr. Joe. We thought we'd have a great idea. My great buddies today. Miller will be coming back in momentarily. He had an air conditioning problem when it's 175 degrees like it is right now in his part of the country. You need that. So we're going to give him that opportunity, and then we'll make fun of him mercilessly later. So I want to say hello to everybody. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing
Uh-oh.
well. I'm back in my house in Ohio, so it's coming from a different venue right now. But
There it is.
just I'll be here for another few days, and then I'll be back at the beach, enjoying
All
myself
right.
there.
All right. You seeing family up there?
No family here. Family
Hmm.
is more. They're all spread out. Lauren's on the other side of Ohio, and Brittany's in New Jersey, and Joey's in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So they're all over the place. I really don't have, outside of some friends, I don't have any family up here. Just taking care of the place. I come up
All right.
here.
Making sure it's still there. All right.
Yep.
All right. I'm glad. And then Frank, how's life? What's going on? How's
Doing
everything
well,
down
good.
in DC, Virginia area?
Virginia, doing good, doing well. I'm doing the same thing I'm doing with Joe's, doing things around the house.
Got it. Getting any games in? Do you go to any games down there?
Actually, I was invited to go to a game tonight. I said, well, I got to do a podcast. I've a guy I play baseball with has like fourth row seats at Nats. He
Are
said, "You
they
want to
are
go?"
they playing the Mets tonight, or is that series
No, the
over?
Braves. The Braves.
The Braves.
Yeah,
Got it.
he's. I've gone with him before, and he's given me tickets too. But
Love it. Yeah, Jamie and I went last 2 weeks ago to like the only game that they've lost in the last month. We went to see the Yankees play there. They had that series, the one Holmes explosion, winning 4-0 or 3-1 or something, whatever. That he just fell apart, 2 outs in the ninth inning. So we're
well,
feeling we
yeah,
made this.
I went to the game in Baltimore, the one out of the four that they won. So
Oh, that's good. I don't know. We're having a hard time with luck. We lose a lot, so decided I'll stay home, let them keep going. Anyway, guys, I'm so glad you're with us. Welcome to everybody to Yankees Coast to Coast. We're going to talk a little Yankees baseball. Mike will come back and talk about some of the other shows in the network. What we're going to talk about today is 22 Yankees got off to an amazing start. I think there were 60 and was it 60 and 23? Uh, and then, so a lot of similarities. I mean, we're still not quite there at 44 and 19, but a lot of similarities. And we're just wondering, for those of you out there who are Yankee fans, uh, 22 ended badly. I mean, they didn't get very far in the playoffs. They did, but they got swept out by Houston. Um, but there was something that was a sort of a pall cast over the team in the second half. They just were a completely different operation after all to get off to 63 and 23, 60 and 23, whatever it was, and then to finish not win 100 games. Something went wrong in that second half to finish under 500 in the last part of the season. And I guess what we're wondering is, they're going to do it again. Is it something that you just get tired? Can they maintain this kind of intensity? um, so we're kind of looking and seeing what's going to happen here. So I'm interested in your guy. What did you think of this week of baseball? Um, Frank, go ahead and tell us what was the highlight for you of Yankee baseball this week.
oh well, they were perfect. They haven't lost since the last podcast. So
Right.
yeah,
That's
I
right.
mean, Judge and Volpe and Soto, but the pitching is always. I think the starting pitching is what's it's keeping them going.
Yeah.
And then like Stanton, the last week I think he's hitting 300 and Glaber 272, and still they got that 30% strikeout rate, but I'll take that. I mean, if that's the worst, they can do, but I know they could do a lot worse than that. But let's just hope they stay somewhat steady,
Hmm.
because they're adding runs. Stanton's adding runs, and even Torres right now.
Yeah. I mean, to that point, Giancarlo is hitting in the let's just say in the last 15 days, he's hitting 209. So he
209.
doesn't. He's only hitting 209 in the last 15 games.
I went back a week since so I think he was at like 300.
All right, I'll go to.
Yeah.
I'll look in the last 7.
Unless I saw it
You're
wrong.
right. He's had an incredible. So that's to show you how bad he was
I know.
leading up to that.
Yes.
He, he was in a real slump. So last 7 games in this in the time since the show, and it's because of the show. You know that we.
I think so. I say they haven't lost since the last podcast.
Exactly. So, he's hitting a 375. On base percentage is 412. His OPS is 1225. So he's doing everything he needs to do. And what I'm loving is that he's hitting home runs that matter late in the game. He's there, that home run the other night against what was that pitcher who threw it? But I don't remember. But that late inning to get them from they were up 3-2 to go, or 4-3, 3-2, and then they took off, brought them back in within a couple of runs. Just to give them that extra boost was really what you need from that bat. So I loved it. It was great. You're right. Giancarlo is doing what we need him to do. Still striking out too much. 16 at bats, 5 strikeouts. So he basically, when he gets a hit, when he makes an out, he's going to hit probably a ground ball, probably a double play, grounded into 2 double plays, and then he's going to hit and he's going to strike out. That's his.
Well, he
his
had a couple
MO.
of good line drive base hits the last couple of days.
That's right. That's right. So
it's good to see something like that.
It's getting that. I think you're right. What about you, Joe? What do you think about the Yankees right now? The state of the Yankees.
He's hitting 40 points. Stan's hitting 40 points higher. I think his average now, I think it's 232. What did he finish the season with last year? 192. So he's hitting 40 points over. My problem is that he still seems to be, either guessing or, just, I mean, he gets fooled on those sliders and, those breaking balls that are, a foot off the plate. I mean, he's still waving at those. And he's always been a tack on home run guy. So him hitting a home run, when they're ahead by 3 or 4 runs, but that did put the game out of reach. So, I mean, 15 home runs is pretty good. I mean, he's on pace to hit over 30, maybe even 40 this year. So, I mean, he's doing much better. I guess slimming down really helped him.
Yeah, I mean, he's not hurt, and that's the big thing. He's healthy.
Yeah.
He looks more athletic on the field. Still can't run at all.
Can't run.
But he's not. We didn't pay him to steal bases no matter what. But I'm liking so far this year. He's struck out 69 times, so he's just behind Judge on strikeouts. I just saw that Glaber is struck out almost as much, which is just amazing for an infielder to be striking out as much as he does. But Judge is at 70 strikeouts, and but yeah, I'm happy about it, and I'm always blasting him because I keep thinking he's always just an inch off of getting into a slump that's going to just keep going. He's not going to be able to get away from it, and that always annoys me about Giancarlo, is that it's such a hot and such a mercurial baseball player. He's got one show, he's got one gear, and it's this monster home run that he's going to hit. He's going to close his eyes. He's going to see a mistake down the middle, and he's going to murder it. That's just who he is, and that's okay. I mean, that's not so terrible on this team because you've got guys that aren't like that. We don't know how important Verdugo is in this lineup. Verdugo is not having an amazing season. He's in 252. He's got 8 home runs. He's got 34 RBIs. He just gets big hits, and he doesn't strike out very much. Well, he's got 30 strikeouts this year, puts him down the bottom half of the team, well below bottom quarter of the team in strikeouts. He just makes contact, and what he does so well is he just keeps these guys. He covers the strike zone, and for guys like who on a team that does strike out heavily, has 3 guys that can strike out as often as Glaber, Judge, and Giancarlo, an important guy in the order, and I love him. He's also got a great attitude. You gotta love him. I don't know if he's gonna be around. He's a free agent next year. I don't see them signing him. They're not going to give him a big 5-year contract. when they've got they got a minor league system that's got some real talent. So I don't think they're going to do that, especially if they want to sign Soto. But yeah, I'm very pleased. I just I'm trying to find what's missing. Why will this team do better and not have the second half slump that the 22 team had? And first of all, I just think they're more enjoyable to watch now than they were then, uh, on every level. They seem to have a different approach. And I like Mike to chime in on this when he gets back. But you guys have to admit it's a different feeling when they're at bat right now. I was wondering about home runs. Um, they have been hitting 1.4 home runs per game this year. In 22, they hit 1.5 per game. So it's not that different. I was thinking, well, they hit a lot more home runs per game then, and they scored less runs in other ways. It's almost identical. They're scoring instead of scoring. You'd think they would score more runs this year. They're not. It's exactly the same. 5.9 runs per game. They're playing exactly at their season average of 22, which surprised me because I thought they would have scored a lot more this year. But they're playing almost identical. But the baseball is so different, and I can't put my finger on it. What do you guys think?
Joe?
Well, the defense is unbelievable. I mean, that play that Verdugo made yesterday. I'm just wondering why he's out of the lineup today. The kid's 27 years old. 2 weeks ago he had 3 days off for paternity leave, and now he has a day
Yeah.
off. So I'm just wondering if the Yankees are pretty coy about their keeping it quiet about injuries. So you just wonder if he got banged up yesterday hitting that fence. I mean, it was a hell of a
Yeah,
play.
he looked like he looked like he rang a bell. It looked like he rang a bell
Yeah.
when he got
Yep.
when he went out there. So I wonder if that's it's quite possible,
No, the
that he
defense
did
is
get
good.
hurt.
I mean, Judge is great. Obviously left field is covered. Right field, Soto is good. He plays a little shallow. I mean, balls get over his head. I don't
Yeah,
know.
they
I
do.
think it was last night or the night before. A couple balls got over his head where I think Judge, would have been maybe back there.
Uh,
Rizzo at first base. Glaber's, he makes a great play, and then he kind of loses concentration, and he doesn't make a good play. Volpe is fantastic
yeah,
at short, and whoever you got at third base is doing I mean, whether it's DJ or Cabrera and Birdie before him, they were great at third base and catching. I haven't seen any problems. I mean, I don't know if I've even seen a pass ball this year.
Oh, the catching is amazing. They're really
So
remember the days of what was his name? What was our catcher of the past who left us so
Sanchez,
loud?
Sanchez.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when Sanchez was playing, I mean, it was like every game he would lose one or two. These guys are great, and their hands are so good. They're just bringing these balls in a way that you just don't expect. They seem to really handle the pitching in a way that you know it's all about framing now, and they do it so well. So very very impressive, on every level. So, I can't disagree with anything. I can't find any problem. Um, Glaber is a weak link. He's gone. Um, Glaber's playing well this like last 7 games or so, but I think that they're already talking about how the two guys that are in question now is they're not going to sign Glaber to a long term contract. We know that's not happening.
No.
Um, he's gone. So they've got other guys. They've got Peraza. He's down. He's working his way back up. Well, is he? He's not doing real well yet, but I think they're feeling that he's going to be there. He'll be in the infield mix somewhere. And the same thing you got to wonder about Rizzo, because Rizzo has the team option, and I can't imagine them giving it to him. And they're certainly not going to give him a qualifying offer. He'll take it. So you kind of feel like this may be the end of Rizzo, uh, who's hitting, so far this year. Um, he's he's hitting about two. He's hitting 236. Um, he's got 7 home runs and 25 RBIs. everybody's got a lot of RBIs in this team because so many people on base all the time. I mean, they
Right.
so this whole lineup, everybody has a lot of RBIs. If you don't, there's something wrong. So he's got 25 RBIs. Glaber has got 19. Um, Glaber's hitting 231. You just got to think of those two guys are not doing in their place. They have positions that can be replaced. So there's talk about a trade. Do you see a possibility of uh, a deadline trade, to bring another first baseman? And I don't know if they would do that. Probably the best bet is to bring somebody up and put if they really feel they want to move Rizzo out of the lineup or away next year, who's going to take over? Most likely, it's DJ's job. It's most likely DJ. So we'll see, but not a lot of problems this year that you can see on any level. Uh, what I'm noticing is just that everything that I'm looking at, they are the same team that they were exactly 2 years ago in virtually all major categories, statistics. Um, their
But they
pitching,
look different.
they look different and they feel different when they're up there, and they're trying to they seem to be working the count in a way. I bet they're seeing, I haven't seen this, how many pitches they're seeing per at bat has got to be up ridiculously
Yeah,
because
yeah. But going back, this team could fall apart. Anything can happen, even without injuries. But back then, it didn't look real. For some reason, just the eye test. Without looking at the stats, you looked at that team saying, you are with your record, but still, they didn't look that good. And
yeah.
so it was like they were fugazi. They were fake. And I remember, I think it was Joel Sherman was Michael Kay had him on the show, and he said, "Are we looking at the '98 Yankees?" And he did an old takeoff of that vice president debate of Benson and Quayle.
Oh,
And he said,
I
he
knew
said,
the
he goes,
98
when he
Yankees.
said, I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Jack Kennedy. Here's what he said. He goes, I knew the New York. I knew the '98 Yankees. I liked the '98 Yankees. This team is not the '98 Yankees. And there was something about looking at them. They didn't look like that. And this team, I have a different feeling. They look like they're for real. I mean, and like I said, the 22 Yankees. Don't forget they have Donaldson and Joey Gallo too.
That's a fact, and as good as, and that was a team that just seemed to sit on the back of Judge. Just
Yeah, they did.
they rode it all the way through. Stanton was not having a good year. Didn't have a good year. Was hurt a lot in
I think he
22.
was hurt. Yes, he was hurt. Yeah.
So, and then Glaber, I don't remember what Glaber did. Let's just see what Glaber's season was. 22. Um, so Glaber hit 257 with 24 home runs and 76 RBIs. Not bad. Struck out 129. He's on pace to blow away his strikeout total from that year, by the way. So even though they say his strikeouts are down, I don't think so. I think he's striking out more now than he was before. But on base percentage was 310. This year, his on base percentage is. Does it feel like I have it out for Glaber, guys? Am I being
No,
too?
no, I think you're right. I think I mentioned to Joe. I said, what are all these coaches for? And I know these guys are stubborn, but why doesn't a coach get him in the room and say, look at these tapes. Look at Volpe last year. Look at that swing. We
Yeah.
corrected it. Look at him this year. Look at your swing last year. It was worse this year. You want to make a lot of money next year? Let's fix it. I mean, I don't know. These guys are brain dead or what it is.
Yeah.
They can't be taught. I mean, they don't want to be. He's like you said, that
Mhm.
swing he's got. It's either pop up or strikeout.
Yeah.
Like that home
Well,
run
he
he hit the
seems
other
to try
night.
to pull the ball too much. He gets into
Oh my
that
gosh.
mode. He gets into that pull thing, and that's always painful. But and then what about Volpe? You gotta love him. He's a completely different guy. 62 games this year. He's hitting 290. He's got 6 home runs. I couldn't care less if he hits any home runs. I know
No.
that means nothing. He's got 25 RBIs. He doesn't steal. He's 11 steals. It's okay. They don't. This team isn't going to steal a lot of bases, no matter how you look at it. Um, Striking out a good amount, but not as bad as it was last year. But it's amazing. He's got 23 extra base hits this year already. It's he's leading the team. He's not leading the team, but he is he is of all the guys in the order aside from Soto and Judge, he's leading the team in extra base hits. So you got to see that he's doing something that he didn't do last year very well. What do you think, Joe? What do you think? What's the eye test tell you about our shortstop?
Joe there?
Joe, can you hear us? Did we lose Joe? Joe's frozen.
He's frozen.
My
Joe's
phone
frozen.
just
There he is.
overheated and shut off, so I have no idea why it overheated. But
You were very.
It's standing up. Anyway, I just took
You
my
had this
cover off,
so
maybe that's it.
cooling everything
Air
off.
conditioning's on in the house. So, but getting back to what you guys, I kind of missed you there. But the difference between this year and 22, Adam, you said that the Yankees were 37 games over 500. They were 60 and 23.
Yeah, something like that.
And this year they're 27 games over 500, which is unbelievable. I didn't think they got the best record in baseball, or if not, they're tied with Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So they're doing tremendously well. A lot of that has to do with the starting pitching. I don't think we talked about the starting pitching. I mean, with Heel and Rondon, when we had our opening day guesses on who was gonna what Rondon was gonna win this year, I said he was gonna win like 8 games. So he's already at 8 games. So unless he gets hurt,
Well, you got Cole.
he's
You
gonna
had
get
Cole
more
down
than
for one
8
start.
wins.
You've got Cole none, right? You have no wins from Cole, right? Wasn't that your
no wins, 1 start? Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Well, he's got
We'll
1
see. I
start. He
hope
does
I'm
have
wrong on
1.
that. Oh my!
Hey,
my
no,
God.
I'm jumping in. I'm jumping in late here, and I know that.
Welcome
But
back.
yeah, I may have to leave again.
All
So
right.
in
So
22, they were 44 and 19 at this point in the season. This year, they're 47 and 16, which is 3 games back. However, in 22, they went 52 and 47 the rest of the year, which included the last 56 games where they played 500.
Yeah.
So they're pretty much what it is. And when I started looking at the difference in the stats, believe it or not, it's really not. The starting pitching is better, but it's not as much better than we thought.
I know.
They're averaging 5.7 innings a start instead of 5.5 innings a start. I think the pitching in the rest of the league has gotten worse because in 22 they had 42% quality starts. This year it's at like 48, which makes them 4th in the league, whereas in 22 that would be 9th. But overall, their pitching in 24 is much better. The bullpen's pretty much the same.
Their walks per 9, believe it or not, is higher now.
Yep.
Than it was in 22. So I'm looking for anything in their statistics to see why. Maybe their BABIP is different. Maybe they're giving. I don't know what it is, but the
strikeout to walk ratio is better in 22 as well than it is now. They're getting a lot more ground balls. That makes a difference. But I think the biggest difference is Volpe over IKF is a huge difference.
Yeah.
And then obviously Rizzo's not as good as he was. Torres isn't as good as he was. And the combination of Cabrera, DJ, and Birdie has been better than the combination of Donaldson and DJ.
Oh, that's terrible.
And then the other big win is obviously Soto over whoever was your center fielder, right? And then when you get to Verdugo, he's better than Hicks and Gallo were, but Verdugo's stats and Benintendi's stats are almost identical. And you got to remember, Benintendi came over and they basically played 500.
Yeah.
When he came over, Stanton's slightly better than he was. And Judge, what amazed me is when I was looking at Judge's stats, right? The year he hit 62 home runs, right? He had 62 home runs in 157 games. He batted 311. He's batting 293. His on base was 425. It's 423 this year. His slugging was 686. It's 667 this year. It's extremely comparable to a 62 home run, 130 RBI season. It's amazing.
Do you know, are we able to see? I can't find any sites. I want to find one where I can look at their statistics at certain points in the season.
I couldn't find it for 22. I was able to find some interesting stats though, with regard to postseason, which really is what it came down to. Is they didn't do well the second half of the year, but they batted 198 in the two series that they played in the postseason in 22. Sorry,
It was the kids.
173. I'm sorry, they batted 173.
Yeah, it was all Bader all the time. That was
Right.
it.
And Judge is a 211 lifetime postseason hitter. So, but they batted 241 during the year in 22 and 173 in the regular season.
Yeah.
Aside 751 OPS compared to 579 in the postseason. So it came down to the fact that they couldn't hit the good pitching. But we knew that going in because Gallo couldn't hit any pitching. Hicks was useless. Donaldson was useless.
Oh yeah, but I forgot we forgot to mention Hicks. Hicks was on that team. God,
Yeah, he was terrible.
what in the
Hicks,
world? What got that team to that level? See, this team doesn't feel like it's overachieving. This team really feels like it's
that's what I
well
was saying.
designed.
this team's offense is a little bit more consistent because, quite frankly, Soto and Judge after April have been so good,
Yeah.
and Soto's been like playing at the high plateau the entire season. Whereas Judge in April, we were like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, Judge, I mean, when he wins Player of the Month after winning 2 Players of the Week for May, and then Soto wins Player of the Week for the last week in May. But it's interesting is Verdugo and Benintendi. I was really surprised by this. Benintendi for the Yankees was 254 average and a 734 OPS. Verdugo through 60 games is 252, 2 points lower, and 740 OPS, which is only 6 points higher. And Benintendi actually had a higher on base percentage. So that was really interesting to me. But, the comparison of Soto compared to, Hicks is 216 and Bader is 217 and Florial's 097 and Andujar's 229. And you're replacing that with 319 and a 1027 OPS, where these guys all had OPSs below 650. It's Soto gets a lot of credit for the offense being consistent. And Volpe, the same thing. But, we'll see what happens. All right, I'm going back to my air conditioning guy to see what's going on. I just figured I'd get my 2 cents in. I did all that research. I needed to get it in. I needed to get it in there somehow. But basically, the pitching in 22 is the starting pitching is better. The bullpen's the same, but I'm very worried about the bullpen this year because the depth is so thin.
Yeah.
Right? In the middle of 22, they switched from Chapman to Holmes as the closer.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Prime Loizaga, and they had King, who was really good. And Schmidt was in the bullpen for most of the year. He only had 3 starts. This year, we're looking at Holmes and Weaver and Hamilton. That's not good. And they also had Peralta in 2022, and now they've got Gonzalez and Ferguson. I think the bullpen this year, they got to figure out the depth in the bullpen. And Trevino, when he came over, was good. And Efros, when he came over before he got hurt, was good. So 22 had a lot going for it in the second half of the year, especially in the bullpen. The bullpen is where I think they need to make the biggest changes. And Torres is so much worse than he was in 22.
Yeah.
Now, his average is only slightly worse, but his slugging is just in the crapper.
Yeah, we're talking that he's gone. Like we're saying that they should try to trade him at the deadline just to get something, but they won't. What they'll do is they'll just let him wither, and then they'll just let him go for nothing because they're not going to sign him to a 5-year deal.
They're not going to.
No.
He may end up having to take the offer, the qualifying offer.
Do you think they would give him a qualifying offer?
No.
I think they'll give him a qualifying offer just to get the draft pick, unless, of course, because they're over, the revenue sharing number, they don't get draft pick compensation the way the Mets lost draft pick compensation when they lost their free agents. Then you just let them walk because you're not getting compensation anyhow.
All right. On that point, because I know you got to go, but I'd love you to stay for this one point. There's a lot of talk in New York about the Mets. The Mets are all over if you turn on FAN or ESPN, all you hear is how the Mets are going to get Soto. All the Met fans, all they talk about all day long is the Mets are going to get Soto. And the Yankees are now playing this crying poor mouth and saying that even Steve Donahue in a said that he felt that this is going to break the bank. It's going to break the bank. So I mean, if that's the case, I mean, what in the world are we? You know, if
Well,
there's a player that they should get, it's this guy. So are the Yankees really in a situation where they can't afford somebody like him? Is the company line going to be that this is something that they're going to be ambivalent?
no, you know what? I don't think so, but I also think if they do sign him, there's going to be massive changes on the team
Mm-hmm.
because the Rizzo's 17 million is going to be gone. Verdugo's 8.7 is going to have to be gone. They got to figure out if they want to pay Holmes the $6 million that they got to pay him because he's going to be gone as a free agent, right? I mean, so you're talking about 7, 6, and 17. That's $30 million, and then you got what's his face? Torres is making 14, so that's $44 million right there that comes off the books. Do you just turn around and give that to Soto and then
Yes.
hope that DJ can play second base or Peraza can play second base and Peraza and Cabrera can handle third base, or DJ moves to first base? Now,
Yeah,
to
because
me,
they're not re-signed. I bet you they're not gonna sign Rizzo. We were talking about that earlier. If Rizzo goes the option,
he can't. It's the team option. It's not. They have to pay him $5 million to go away.
yeah,
Dominguez is the key to this because then they could let Verdugo walk and pay Domingos nothing, and
yeah,
then it's Domingo, Judge, and Soto. The infield is DJ at first, Peraza at second, Volpe at short. Who's at third? I don't know. First base, but what's the name of the guy on third base? I don't know. That's the big question. Can Cabrera and Birdie be your third baseman and be a winning team? I don't know. But they have other infielders, right? They have whatever that little midget guy is that they've got, not Dave DeMayo, a different midget that's
so you
playing right
got that
now.
midget
Shortstop.
guy, and what about this guy Augustus? Have you been hearing about him at Double A right now? Catcher, who apparently has power like you wouldn't believe, and they're
Oh
trying him
yeah,
out at first base.
they have two catchers at Double A. Rice is also at Double A. They have two left-handed power hitting catchers at Double A.
Yeah,
But I think they have to use them as trade bait. One of them is trade bait because that's one of them is trade bait along with Pereira seems to be the odd man out. Maybe he's got value if he can get his stats back up. And then you've got two young 19-year-old shortstops in Lombard Jr. and Arias. One of those guys can go, and that gives you three young players that you could use as trade bait that have high upside.
yeah.
And obviously, you still have Spencer Jones. So now you've got a lot to fill in the back orders here. I would see if they can move Jones to first base, quite frankly. He played it in college a little bit. I'd move him to first base right now and say, all right, let's see what you do at first base the rest of the season. Maybe you're our guy for Rizzo next year. And then DJ stays at third base. And it
And it
solves the
becomes
problem.
becomes Freddie Freeman over there.
What could
That
win?
that would be nice. The I'd like to see it. I think that they have a lot of options to get to that. To get there if they really want to save money. This year feels more like unlike any they've had in recent years, where they probably can get their salary down if they really want to in order to pay for this guy.
Right.
But they can't let him go. And and anybody who says he wants to win, he won already. If they win, that's the second ring. If they don't, he still has one ring, and he's still feel like he's good. He's not. That doesn't
Right.
mean that much.
And maybe Boris needs to save face after the tough offseason he had, and he figures out a way to do all sorts of deferred money with Soto the way that Otani did so that he can say, oh, yeah, I got him a $45 million contract, but it's all this deferred money on the back end. The
Yeah.
other the other thing is there is a replacement for Soto that's out there. Obviously, he's not going to be Soto, but there is a guy that's a free agent that will not cost $40 million a year, will be a left-handed right fielder for the Yankees as a free agent, and that's Tucker from
He's
Houston.
staying. He's not going anywhere. He's staying in Houston.
I don't know. Houston is, if they don't have a good season.
But they're aging, and they want to keep that. They want to keep a core of some kind, and that he would be the player you keep if you're going to try to build a core.
Oh, I would do that too. But the Yankees could come in and say, okay, we lost Soto to the Mets for $45 million. Let's bring in Tucker for 33, and you're going to get a guy who's 30-30 and a stud outfielder.
Yeah.
And, but then again, they have Jones. They could let them all walk and go with Jones, Dominguez, and Judge in the outfield. And that would be kind of scary because you don't know what you're getting out of two of the three guys.
Yeah.
All
How
right, I'm
old
going
is
back to my air
Tucker?
conditioner.
Keep cool.
Tucker's he's in his late 20s. So he'll be like an 8-year deal, probably for 240-ish, 250.
Well,
All
it
right,
all
let me
comes
go.
down
I'll see
to
you.
is got to find out what Soto's going to do. Hopefully, Boris, gets him moved somewhere early. So because the Yankees, if they lose him to the Mets, then they're going to have to maybe keep Rizzo. They might even have to keep Glaber. Um, Verdugo is definitely staying if that's the case. If they lose him, because he's going to definitely man the outfield. You got Judge in center. You can put Dominguez in right, and then see what Jones. Jones has not been doing well at Somerset, and he's not even a AAA yet. He's having a tough season this year in the minor leagues. So Jones may not even be up next year. I think he'll probably be a September call up, but he's not the answer right now. But it all comes down to what Soto's going to do, and hopefully he moves early, not late. If he moves late, then they're kind of screwed, because then you have, like you said, Tucker's on the table. Do you spring for Tucker, and then Tucker might go before Soto. So it's it's a crapshoot.
Yeah. And when
We'll
you say
see.
go late, what do you mean by that, Joe?
Well, you would like to see, certainly by December, you'd like to see
Nice.
where Soto is going to be, because then you can, you can, start making some decisions on, what you're going to do. They have to make their qualifying offer. What is it, like a month after the World Series? I think that's when they have to make their qualifying offer. I might be wrong on that. Does anybody know? I know Kramer would know. I think it's a month after they have to make that decision, if they're going to make a
Yeah.
qualifying offer to players. So do you do it with Glaber? That's dicey as well. I mean, it's going to
Yeah.
be over $20 million a year. The qualifying offer, it's close to $20 million this year. So it goes up every year. So it'll probably be over 20. You want to pay him, 1 year, because he might take it. I would think he would.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting, but I'm tired of hearing of it. It's all you hear about on if you turn. They're not talking about how great the Yankees are doing. They're talking about how pitiful the Mets are. How Cohen is,
Tim
screwing the
Collins.
doggy. Not being what they thought he was going to be here, and how he has to make a big play in order to get the fans back. They're terrible in attendance. It's just they're playing terrible baseball. I mean, the Mets are a lot more than Soto away from success, but it certainly would be a good one. And he's the one who'll pay him $60 million a year.
But if he pays him, he'll probably won't re-sign Alonso.
Lonzo's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone. I think he may be traded now. They're talking about him going at the deadline. They don't care. They're giving up on this season, and they're 10 games under 500. And even
Only a
that
few
with
games
it,
out of the wild card with 18 teams in front of them.
that team's terrible though, man. That division is the worst. But you know, I can't believe how many bad teams are in the National League right now. I mean, it's just
Oh my God, I think as of yesterday, only 5 teams are over 500.
yeah. I'm wondering if that's part of the reason that you know that we can be comfortable. Like it was the league seemed better in 22. It just seems that part of the reasons why they're doing what they're doing is it's just nobody's at the competition is very bad this year, and I'm wondering if that's part of what's happening here. Is that the Yankees, that they're playing great, everything is fine. The second half they didn't play well, and is it partially because the competition is better this year? It just seems that they don't have anybody to play that's over 500. They've got the Orioles, The Orioles are going to be the powerhouse of this division. I still think they're the better team than the Yankees all around, and as far as athleticism and just their full roster. What they don't have is a closer, and you know what they're going to do. They got the money now to go out and get a closer. They're going to do that immediately. Um, and you know what's going to be interesting to see, will the Astros trade Hader at the deadline if they feel that they're way out of it, because they're what, 8-10 games, 8 under 500 right now. They're going nowhere. But again, nobody in that division is doing well, so maybe they could still catch somebody. But can you imagine if the Orioles had Hader at this point, or anybody better than Kimbrel? So you're from down there. What are they saying about the Orioles down there?
Oh, they're not. Down here they talk about the Nationals. I'm in DC,
Yeah.
but they don't talk about the Orioles that much.
It's funny. Is that always the case? The national? Would you say the Nationals are more of the regional team?
Yes, without a doubt. I mean, for years it was. Baltimore was the only team, so they covered them. They don't cover them at all, pretty much anymore. They just stick with the Nationals.
Yeah. And Joe, what team is being watched in North Carolina? Who's the local team down there?
It's basically Baltimore. Baltimore is the team. Yeah, I mean,
Really?
and maybe maybe Atlanta. Atlanta used to be the team, but it seems like Baltimore's closer than Atlanta, as a matter of fact. From on the Outer Banks, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Hader is not having the year that he should be having. I think
That's a big contract.
I think he's got 9 saves, and he's blown a lot. I mean, he blew that game against the Yankees. When they had that opening series in Houston. I mean, he's not been good. He's getting strikeouts, but his ERA and WHIP are way high. His ERA is in the middle 4s, and that's terrible for a closer. I mean, you shouldn't be up that high. And his WHIP is 1.3, 1.4. So,
well, he's coming around a little bit. He's down. He's at 3. His career is 2.57. His this year he's at 3.54, which is still high. 26. He's got 9 saves, and his WHIP is 1.04, which is just a little bit above his career average. It's about 9.5. So you're right. He's still striking out a lot. He's got 45 per in a 28 innings so far. So he's well over 1 per inning. It's not the best, certainly not his best, but I don't know. He's not terrible.
Houston could do it if they fall out. They still got Presley. They still have Abreu. They can certainly do that, and they're cheap compared to him because he signed a contract for $95 million. So that would that might be the way to go.
We're wondering
Miller,
if
they're saying Miller in Oakland is not going anywhere.
No, they'd be stupid to trade Miller. It'd be dumb. That would be one of the dumbest things they could do, even though they're the cheapest team in the league, because they've got control over him for 6 more years. And quite frankly, they want him to be a starter. And if you've watched him the last week or so, the warts are coming out. He almost blew a game again yesterday. So it's going to be interesting. He does carry himself like watching Roger Clemens, which is not a bad thing as long as there's no steroids involved. But Miller's not going to – they'd be dumb to trade him. It would be just silly.
Hey, Mike, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
They're hurting for money. They're cheap. How come they're one of the few teams that doesn't have an advertisement on their sleeve?
Because they're the 5th most profitable team in all of baseball. How's that one for an answer? They are the 5th most profitable team in all of baseball. I don't know. They don't have an advertisement on their sleeve? I didn't know that. I didn't notice.
A couple of teams don't. They're one of them.
Yeah, I know, Frankie, you're a big uniform guy, and I just don't notice that stuff.
Okay.
It doesn't.
They're so cheap and they need money.
They probably can't. Would you want to be associated with them?
Maybe you can't get
All right. So just as a side note, did you see what I sent the article to you guys yesterday? Did you see the latest? Dave Cavall, who is the president of the team, said that they want to make a deal with Major League Baseball that they can play up to 8 games, home games, but not in Vegas. It's amazing.
Right.
I mean, what is? They're not even there yet. And they're like, can we play 8 games not there? It's amazing. They still don't have the financing in place for the Vegas building, which is $500 million investor they're looking for. They still don't have the paperwork signed on the whatever I think it's $300 million in subsidies and things like that from the city of Vegas. That's not signed. And they have nothing signed to go to Sacramento next year. The only thing that they have that makes you think it's going to Sacramento is allegedly the owner of the Sacramento River Cats is buddies with one of the owners, either Wolf or Fisher. We don't know. I forgot which one. So I don't know what. Obviously, they don't tell me anything. I don't know anything.
You're not in upper management yet?
Yeah, 17, 14 an hour. I'm not in any kind of management position. But they, it's amazing to me what's going on. And I just found out yesterday on the last game of the season this year, they're going to give out little replicas of the Oakland Coliseum.
Oh, that's nice. With the urinals?
What do you think the angry fans are going to do with a little metallic? Oh yeah, I mean, I literally found this out yesterday after my shift was done. I'm going to bring it up tomorrow. I'm just astounded. What are they going to do with those things when the fans are there? We've got people calling. Yeah, we've got people calling in asking if they can bring plumber's wrenches to the last game to take out their seats. They're
love
like,
that
what
idea.
are you talking about? There's metal
Stadium.
detectors. I mean, think about the difference between 74 when the stadium closed and everybody was on the field and they ripped the stadium raw, and 08 when the stadium closed and nobody took anything, and then the Yankees were selling an ounce of dirt for $100.
That's exactly right.
Jackie did.
So, okay, on that note.
No, she was on the way out. She was scraping big chunks of the lead paint off the walls and put it in plastic bags.
All right, there will be a great show in the future on the end
So
of the
anyhow, while I'm here, I might as well do the commercials before I go again.
Commercials, please.
On the Mic'd Up app, I don't know if you guys got a chance to listen to Jim Darby yesterday, but he had some really good Billy Martin stories. I think it was Jim Darby. He did he does Bears and the Bigs featuring Cal Bears who reached the major leagues, but he spent a lot of time working with Major League Baseball when he worked for Easton, and he had some really good stories about various major league players and managers and things like that, and it was absolutely Billy Martin, which was my question that I happened to ask him. And then you also have the Rick Barry Show with Cyrus Sotz, and then, of course, our favorite, ready, Adam? The highlights from Lowlifes.
Boom!
Who live at the corner of pop culture and sports. They're on every Wednesday.
And alcoholism.
Alcoholism. Yes, I forgot about that. So
we love you guys. We do. We have a fun.
I'm going back because since I left you, the cost of this repair just went from $190 to $6,300.
You sure you don't want to hear Big Juicy talk about your play at the play in baseball?
Play at the plate. You could go play Big Juicy.
Okay, play Big Juicy. This is just in line with our topic about fun old fart baseball stuff. Come on.
You want me to play it?
And as Paul Harvey would say, and this is the rest of the story. It appears in retrospect the baseball gods were not happy with me batting Miller cleanup. I went 0 for 3, 3 strikeouts, and I come back into the dugout after the third strikeout, and I'm greeted by a Yankee cap sailing across the dugout, hitting me in the chest. It was Miller's way of congratulating me on my hat trick.
Well, let me say this. He not only had 3 strikeouts, but he had 3 swinging strikeouts. So what does that look like on the scorecard? K, K, K. So we came back to the dugout, and I threw my hat at him, and somebody else yelled at him and asked him where his hood is. Because it's KKK.
Exactly.
The other thing that he did is the one above it. Here we go. This is the other half of the story, which is actually the first half of the story.
It was just last Sunday at our baseball game, and I had Mr. Michael Miller batting cleanup. And when he sees the lineup posted on the dugout wall, He is not a happy camper. He tells me nothing good happens when he bats cleanup. Well, he went 1 for 3. He had a sac fly and a single, not bad, but he also hit into an inning-ending, rally-killing double play and had a strikeout. So, all in all, not that bad. That's only half the story. The other half is coming up.
The other half was the
It's the
KKK.
3Ks. I love it. All right.
Stadium, and it was amazing. I strike out twice a season in this league, and I struck out against a bad pitcher after grounding into an inning-ending double play when we needed more runs. So
Before you leave, though, one last
yeah.
thing I do want to say. I play baseball with Mike's brother, Rich. I play practice with his other brother, Todd, who is a friend of the show. Thank you very much, Todd. And we had a funny experience last week. Rich was on second base, and one of our big hitters, another friend of the show, Steve Caro, hits an absolute bomb to dead center. It's got to be 400 feet. And if you're looking at the back of the jersey of the outfielder, you know that ball is going over his head. And in our level, it's probably 50 feet over his head. Anyway, I'm looking at this, and I've got a perfect angle, and I'm looking at Rich at second base, and he should be on third base at this point, waiting for an easy walk. But he's doing one of these at second base. He's like, should I go? Should I stay? The ball lands over the guy's head. At that point, someone yells, Rich, go! Rich finally leaves second base. And then as he's turning third, the third base coach says, don't worry, you got it. And what does he do? He slows down. Perfect throws later, and this never happens in the league. He's thrown out by 30 feet at home plate. It was one of the ugliest plays I've ever seen, and all I can see is poor Steve Caro on second base, just going like hands up in the air like this. How do I not get an RBI? So that's our boy Rich playing best today. He's very upset at me about this, but it was quite a play. So. That's kinds of funny things that we see. What about you, Frank? Anything fun in your travels in
In
your?
our league? Oh God, yeah. Uh, well, I can tell a quick story, but you know Lou Ippolito, right?
Yeah.
From Kansas. Okay.
Yep.
He's the one who got me into this league years ago. He said he lives in Virginia. He said, "Why don't you look into this league?" And I played it, and I've been doing it for 14 years. He now plays a 16 over, but say the first 12 years, I played him once. I never played his team. In fact, I think Brent was at my game, and we were playing Lou. I said, "This is crazy. Lou, I've never played against your team." And he said, "Oh, let's roll the dice." Well, a few years ago, I saw on the schedule, oh, Lou's team. So I get there and I go to the dugout. I said, "Where's Lou at?" They said, "He doesn't do morning games." I said, "What? If it's an 8 o'clock game, he doesn't show up."
You gotta love this. You gotta love that.
But
That's great. What about you? How about you, Joe? Anything fun at camp that you saw that just stands out as baseball as it's never been played before?
On the field, nothing comes to mind on the field. There's plenty of stuff off the field. We can get into kangaroo court things that, like, back in the old days with Joe Pepitone. Frankie and I had a little discussion about that the other day. I can't think of anything that's happened on the field other than Kramer. As you know, we used to go to that pre-camp at Roy's camp in Clearwater, and Kramer couldn't catch any pop-ups. Remember that? It was almost dangerous because we're afraid he's going to get hurt out there. So we're playing a game, and we're playing over at Himes actually, and he's playing right field, and the batter hits a fly ball to right field, and Kramer is running towards the line. The ball is tailing towards the right field line, and he's running with his right arm up in the air like a little leaguer, running the whole way with his glove and his glove way up in the air. Instead of running and then putting your glove up to catch the ball, he's running the whole way. Believe it or not, he gets close to the line, and that ball somehow made it into his glove. It was actually the funniest thing I've ever seen on the field. And Frankie, you probably remember that. I don't know you. I know you were there. For that. It
Oh,
was
I
like
was. I remember.
2012.
I remember Kramer's first year when he came, and he introduced himself as Dan. We didn't know his name was Kramer. When he first, then after we got to know him, he said, "My name's Kramer." It's like, you just can't be real.
You
And
just renamed yourself, buddy.
and then he showed up with white sneakers. He didn't have any cleats. The spikes.
Right.
Yeah.
I said,
Oh,
and I said,
God.
then he wanted to pitch. I said, you might get hurt on that mound. You might slide, but he did fine. And of course, he's been a great hitter for the last 15 years. So I was wrong, but he showed up those white sneakers. I never forget that.
Yeah. The Kramer's done a lot of fun things on the field. I had one, and I don't think you guys ever saw this. Oh, yeah, I know, because this was about 10 years ago. Had a guy who was a pinch runner. So the guy gets up, he says, "I need a pinch runner." This was Kangaroo Court fun. He gets a pinch runner, hits a single. The pinch runner runs to first base, and then turns around and immediately takes a big turn, goes back to the bag, turns around, puts his hands up, and says, "I need a pinch runner." So I've never seen forget Mickey Rivers and Gamble fighting at court about this, not understanding what in the world. Why did you need a pinch runner? Why did you even offer to do it if you needed a pinch runner? So complete waste. $20, a guaranteed $20 fine if you're gonna pinch run when you shouldn't. That was just, that kind of stuff cracks me up. We had the Uncle Bob, the famous Uncle Bob play that I talked about a little bit last week. Remember Uncle Bob, guys?
Oh yeah.
Uncle Bob was an unusual player, unusually untalented, but a good guy. Played right field, ball went over his head, spun 17 different times, and when he was done and finally got the ball, throwing it back to the field was not an option. He threw it over the right field wall.
Oh yeah.
Famous play at camp. The things you'll never see in life.
Yeah. But
No. Good stuff.
Yeah.
And then my favorite of all is that actually happened in my own amateur team. We played 39 and over probably 10 years ago. And coach was dope, didn't know that we didn't have our leadoff hitter. And it was top of the game. We were on the road. So we're literally ready to start. We don't have our leadoff hitter. So everybody's calling this guy. Where are you? Where are you? He's like, "I'm stuck. I'm in traffic. I'll be there in a minute. I'll be there in a minute." He kept saying that. So we're stalling, doing everything we can. And at this point, we've got no leadoff hitter. We're about to lose the out. And just at that moment, the umpire says, "Start game. Let's go. We're going. We're going to count it as an out." Before he says that, we see his car pulling up to the drive to the ballpark. Our guy comes running out of this car, has his cleats on, has his bag in hand, and his bat and his helmet on. And he's running towards the field, gets right to the plate, drops his bag, turns around, first ball hits a ground ball right back to the pitcher, blows a hamstring. running to first base, has the bat, never drops the bat, gets to first, he's out by 40 feet, turns around, runs back into his car, and drives off.
Oh jeez.
We never saw it. We never saw him. Everybody in the place, both sides, mouths open. Did that happen? He was gone before he even got. It could not have been a minute between the dropping of his bag, the swinging of the bat, the pulling of the hammy, and back in the car. I've never seen anything like it to this day. Still one of the funniest moments at a baseball game. Classic. You got to stretch. What's the moral, guys? You got to stretch.
Oh, how many guys you see in their first camp and they look like athletes, and the first at bat, maybe the first game or second game, they go run down the first, and it looks like a sniper hit them. They go right down.
Yeah.
It's like the hamstring goes.
It's a real good point, because you know what, you really, and people who don't do this, we're all there, and it's your first time. You're thinking Darryl Strawberry's watching you play. You see, it's hard when you see these guys on the field when you're playing with El Duque, and you want to play well, and that's why start slow and taper off.
Right. Hector Lopez, start slow, taper off.
Yeah. So how about you,
the
Miller?
league I
You got
play in
anything?
now, we have a guy, the captain or coach of our team is Glenn. He's 77 years old, and he is the ultimate warrior. He plays like his head's on fire all the time, and he's a very intelligent person. I mean, and he's the coach. He goes over the rules with the umpire, and like in the beginning of the game, he'll say two coaches get together: is it unlimited steals or one steal an inning? We'll always go unlimited, but the other manager will say, we got an older team. So he said, okay, guys, one steal an inning. Remember, one steal an inning. And if there's any rule changes, he tells us and he sends emails. So we get up there, and he gets on first base. And he said, well, one steal on base. He gets a hit, goes on first base, steals second. Okay. What's he do? He goes steals third. And they go, whoa, you can't steal third. First of all, you're the person who had the first steal. It's not like somebody else in the inning had it. Think. So he goes and he starts walking back, and they tag him. And they said, what do you mean? He said, you're out. He said, no, I get to go back. He said, the rule changes. And he said, you didn't read the rules? He said, what rules? He said that if you mistakenly go for that third one, you're a live runner. And he goes, it gets thrown out of the game. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like one time he said, guys, the umpire said, 0 tolerance. Do not argue. You'll get thrown out of the game. First inning, he's arguing. He's pissed. He throws his glove up in the air, starts arguing.
Love it.
But it's funny. These guys. We have one guy every time he strikes out. Every time he doesn't look whether the ball was dropped or not, or whether there's a bases are loaded. He runs to first, thinking he has a chance to run to first. We say, no, you can't run to first. The guy didn't drop the catcher didn't drop the ball, but he just runs automatically. If he strikes out, he just runs to first.
Wow, that's great. You know what? That's good. That's a guy who wants to play, and he's there. When he hits a ground ball, I bet he runs it out.
Oh no, he's really he's a good guy too. But
yeah.
Well, if he's a good guy, that's good.
Yeah, all the guys on my team are great. I mean, I got one of the best teams. Other people want to get on our team now because we're so good. We're not, the other teams they're pretty cutthroat to their own players.
Yeah.
Time out. Joe, did you have trouble getting out of your chair?
It wasn't easy. It was not easy.
What was that?
You had some trouble getting out of your chair.
I'm out.
Yeah. Well, it's a rocker. It's yeah. I have all kinds of trouble getting out of all chairs.
Who am I?
All I know is this is.
You look like Stallone. Look at him.
Speaking of old fat man baseball, did anybody tell Stain's story yet?
No, tell the Stain story.
The story that Stain likes to tell.
Oh, I love that story. Go ahead, tell it.
We're in the locker room at Yankee camp, and Stain and Kramer look over, and there's a guy at a locker, and he's changing. I don't know if it was between games or at the end of the day. And let's just say he didn't just stain his underwear. What stained his underwear was running up his back.
Oh.
So that's the kind of thing that happens when guys overexert themselves in old fat man baseball. You crap your pants, and then you go to the locker room, and everybody gets to see it.
I think that was a shark. Do you think that was a shark situation?
I don't know what it was, nor do I care to find out. But clearly he overexerted himself on the field and lost control of his bodily functions.
Frank, what were you saying?
I'm trying to think of the guy. You might have pointed him out to me. The one guy you said he looked like he had a sweater on. He had so much hair. You said, and I said, I didn't see him. You said, well, you got to see him. Of course, I'm like just waiting for him to come out of the shower.
I was pointing it at him.
The one thing,
he looked like he was full mohair. I mean,
there's entirely too many free ballers, too many guys at camp that, you know what, we don't want to see it. It's ugly. It never was nice. None of us care. Put it away. Get dressed and go home. The guys who walk around.
Right, we have to look at them in the open showers. It's bad enough. I mean, that's.
Oh God.
Hey, we got to stump the chumps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you guys do the stump the chumps that Juicy
No, we
said?
did not. Go for it.
All
What's the
right.
question?
I don't know. Here it comes.
Okay, chumps, here's your question. In the history of Major League Baseball,
wait.
there have been 3 players who have hit 500 or more RBIs when you add their top 3 seasons in terms of RBI production. One of those players was a Yankee. Who is he?
Oh, that's he. Lou Gehrig.
Yeah, that's Garrick.
It's got to be Gehrig.
It's got to be Garrick,
It has to be
right?
Gary.
Yeah, it's Kirk. It's Kirk. I was thinking Mattingly, but he never had that.
No, Gehrig.
No,
Yeah,
Mattingly didn't have 150 in a season. He's talking about
Yeah,
over 500 in 3 seasons.
Yeah, he had 145 one year. That was it. That was his best season. Yeah, it's got to be Garrick. Garrick had 180 one year. I think.
Yeah, had to be Gehrig. I'd like to know who the other 2 players were, though. It's a tough one.
That's a good question. Well, what was the guy's name that has the record? Was it Hack Wilson?
Hack Wilson has 194 RBIs. I think.
All right, so in 3
We need an
seasons.
answer.
Now, well, in 3 seasons, here you go. You ready? In 3 seasons, to get to 500, Garrick in 32 had 151. In 31, he had 185. And in 30, he had 173.
Yeah.
So that puts him over 500.
All right, so we got it. The others are Greenberg and Jimmy Fox.
Oh,
Rarefied
wow.
air.
Makes
And
sense.
it's you. Love it. All right, so how about the Todds? Todd, your brother.
My brother,
chimed in.
I'll let you play Hank Greenberg and Jimmy Fox. Thanks to Big Juicy. He sent in the other answer as well. We can play my brother Todd. It's a little dated from what we talked about, but I don't agree with what he wrote.
Oh,
Replica of the Oakland Coliseum is better than a Juan Soto basketball jersey.
So my echoing brother said that a replica of the Oakland Coliseum is better than one of those Juan Soto basketball jerseys. I disagree.
Ooh, I'd like to have that.
Listen, the Sharks started this a few years ago. They call them jerseys because they're not really jerseys, but they have the combination of 49ers, Warriors in the Sharks, 49ers in the Sharks. They do the Giants and the Sharks. They don't do the A's and the Sharks. Who'd have thought? But I have the Christian McCaffrey jersey, and I forgot which. I have also one of the Warrior ones. I forgot who it was. It wasn't a Steph Curry though. But they're pretty cool. They come out as a hockey thing. What is oh, they're talking about the game today. Have you guys looked at the Yankee game at all?
Not yet, no.
Yeah, Griff.
There must be
Griffin had a
something. Kramer
2-run
tried to
home
call
run.
me in the
That's
middle
all
of
I
the
know.
podcast, though.
What was that, Frank?
Kramer tried to call me about 15 minutes ago. I had to hang up on him.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that him?
It had to be something about the game.
I heard the Don. I heard the Godfather tune. Is that what you have play whenever Kramer calls?
No.
I expect you to say you're welcome.
Never mind.
You had to hang up on Kramer, so I expect you to say you're welcome.
Oh,
Oh my God! Oh my
The
God! The Yankees have 2 runs on a 2-run homer by Grisham.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just
all
said
right.
that.
075 hitter.
Not bad. How about what's the stump to chump? We got to go.
Stump the Chump. Okay,
We did-
Stump the Chumps. This actually came from it was on MLB last week, and it was Sarah. If you guys know who Sarah Ling is, she's got
Yes.
ALS.
Yeah. She's the big
Yeah.
statistician. When does she have ALS?
She has ALS. Yeah, but she's been a reporter for a long time, or an analyst for a long time. Anyway, who are the only 3 players to steal a base, hit a home run, and have a scoreless outage?
Scoreless outing.
Yes, scoreless outage.
Well, it's got to be Ruth and Otani. Tell Kramer to stop.
You got one.
So it was Otani.
It wasn't Ruth. Was it
Ruth
Ruth?
steal
Not
bases.
Ruth.
Mike, is it Lorenzen?
No.
How about here's an idea. Jose Canseco.
That would be a good guess, but no. He I think he got hit. He was hit. When he when he pitched.
Okay.
I'll tell you one is Christy Matheson, going way back. Okay. And then the other one, you'll probably never get. It was in 2019. Any
Trevino?
idea?
Swisher?
Bartolo Colon.
Bartolo
I'll
Colon.
tell you, it's
He
getting
doesn't have a
late now.
stolen
You guys
base.
probably got to go. Pablo Sandoval.
That works.
Same shape
Giants
as
with the
Colon.
Giants.
I would imagine. That's
And then who else? Who's the third? Who's the third one?
It was Ohtani, Christy Matheson, and
Okay.
Pablo Sandoval.
You see, I don't look at Matheson. That doesn't work for me. That's too early. They batted a lot. That was a time where they were, pitchers hit. And really the only thing odd there is the stolen base.
I'm surprised there's not more players like that because of how many years these guys, until the DH, these guys were hitting.
That's right. So to me, like since 73, that's a much more interesting stat than all time. Like I'd love to. I think
there were some pitchers that actually, I forget who it was, but used as pinch runners.
Yeah.
Who was that?
I remember a time where the Yankees used to would let Ron Guidry run in situations. They would never do that. Can you imagine the Yankees letting Cole run now? I mean, good God.
Maybe it was Seaver. Somebody I remember pinch running. And I didn't have, only.
There were a lot of pitchers that used to pinch run back in the day, because they used them. They were better athletes, and they were not as They weren't being paid as much money. That's the real reason.
Guys, it's 8:11. We went over, but it was fun, and we had to wait for Mike to come in. But I want to thank you again for coming. I love having you both on. It feels like camp. Doesn't that feel? It feels like we're at camp. If we had cigars, and
exactly.
we could talk about camp for 3 hours.
Yeah, we could keep going. If we had Michael, we had Jake Gibbs. That would really be nice.
And then Cavalleo would be nice. That would make the day.
Yeah, we got to do that. Maybe we got to get. You think Jake would do the show?
Jake wouldn't be able to use the phone. We'd have to have
Amanda do it.
Amanda do it for him.
Yeah, that's too bad. I'd like to. Like I said, I keep trying to get. Bloomberg keeps offering, but
that's where the tape segments would come in great. We can do that.
So. All right, boys, have a great one. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Okay.
Good luck in prison, guys. This is an expensive podcast for me today. Speak to you later.